Hello again everybody, this is Hyun-min Lee from Walt Disney Animation Studios, and today I'm going to show you how to draw Louis, the jazz-loving alligator from The Princess and the Frog. So Louis was the first character I got to work on as an animator at Disney, and I had so much fun working on him, and I hope you have fun learning how to draw him too. So let's get started. I'm gonna use my red pencil and my black pencil again, my red pencil for the roughs and the black pencil for the tie downs. And I might have to go a little faster because Louis just has a lot more lines and a lot more details to him, so please excuse me if I'm going a little quickly. Let's start with his head, and we're gonna draw a circle just a little bit on the top of the page so that we can draw his big head and his body. And so I'm gonna draw a smallish circle right here. And then just imagine that as a ball, and we're gonna draw some crosshairs there. And that's where his eyes are gonna be. And so from there, we're gonna draw his nose. And so right below that horizontal line there, just get a nice little curve, and his nose is nice and long. So draw a nice long shape, and the curve going up, right, that's gonna be his upper lip there actually, and his big smile. So just draw a curve going right up to right next to that circle there. And then we're gonna draw his lower lip, and right next to that line, we'll draw a nice big U shape. And that's gonna become his lower lip. And inside that circle, we're gonna rough in where his eyes are gonna be. His eyes are gonna be two oval shapes, like egg shapes. So one on each side of that line, right around that horizontal line there. So we'll have one there, and another one there. And kind of like when I was drawing Anna, it's a 3/4 view, so this side of his face might be a little bit smaller, so this eye is going to be just a little smaller there. And just draw like very light indications of where his eyebrows will be right above his eyes. And inside that oval, we can rough in his pupils too. And then right at the end of his nose, we're going to draw an upside down cup shape that's going to be the tip of his nose, and that's going to help us place his nostrils and everything later. And starting right from that circle where that horizontal line meets the circle, just draw a nice big wide oval that wraps around underneath that U shape for his lower lip. And it's okay if you just go through that nose for now. It's just a rough guideline. And we're gonna really roughly indicate where his body's gonna be. It's gonna start right under that oval. It's gonna be his back and his chest, and make those lines a curve that gets wider towards the bottom, because his chest is a little smaller and he has a much bigger belly. So that's going to be his belly down there. And we might not get to his belly, but we're going to get to his arms and his trumpet later too. So let's go to the black pencil for now. And I'm going to start with his eyes. And for his eyes, they're nice little egg shapes there, but over that egg shape, we're going to draw his upper lid line. So you have that egg shape there, and right over it, there's going to be a thicker line that kind of comes out right outside that oval a little bit. And then we'll have the pupil in there. So that's going to be the eye shape. We're going to draw two of those. So let's start from this side, draw a nice darker, slightly thicker line that starts for his upper lid line, and finish that oval. That egg shape, and then you can see that line hangs over that oval just a little bit like that. And it's the same on this side. Just a thicker line that starts for his upper lid line. Finish that nice oval and let that line hang over on top of that oval just a bit. And then we can draw his pupils. And drawing it right on that right side towards that corner will make it look more like he's looking right at us. So there we have his eyes. And then now we're going to draw his nose. So his nose will start with that curve right under his eyes there. And he has one wrinkle in his nose, so if you follow that nice curve we drew for the nose earlier, before you get to that upside down cup shape, just draw a little wrinkle there, and then we'll get to that cup shape. Before we actually completely finish up that cup shape, we're gonna draw his nostrils. And his nostrils are actually these little bridge shapes, so they're kind of like an upside down U, and then there'll be another little upside down U within it, and you can close that off to make his nostril there. So we're gonna draw two of those. There's gonna be one here, this little nostril there, and then we're gonna see the other one, but we're just gonna see the back of it, so we're not gonna see the inside part of it. So there we go, we have one nostril there, and shaded darks that you can feel like you're looking inside. And then the other side, just the back side, and you're not looking inside, so we're gonna not draw that part. And right when you feel like you're in the middle of those two nostrils and right at the base of that upside down cup shape, draw a little upside down U shape. And what that is his trumpet lip. And it's like a little wrinkle that's there because he's always playing his trumpet, and he has his mouthpiece of his trumpet there all the time. So that's the tip of his nose, and then we're gonna draw the lip line here. And before we do that, his lip line has two little wrinkles where his teeth are poking out, and they're like upside down V shapes, and there's two of them. So one is right where you think, if you imagine this wrinkle extending all the way down there, it's gonna be one upside down V shape there, and then the other one is gonna be right at the tip of that mouth corner. So the other upside down V is gonna be right there. So let's draw the lip line. And so start from that cup shape, and then start drawing a line, and then connect it to that upside down V right there, and draw a nice big curve that connects to the second upside down V shape right there. And then right above those V shapes is another little V shape, that's the little wrinkle above. And then from that V shape, we're gonna draw his cheek. And so from that line, draw a nice, like imagine it as a nice S curve there. And then right between where his eye is right there and that wrinkle, start another curve. It's gonna go over and around the end of that S curve and right there. And so he's gonna have his other cheek on the other side. So imagine we're seeing that V shape on this side. So it's the same shape, but the opposite. So you see a little bit of that V shape there. And then same with that S curve. We go from that V to a smaller S curve there. Start another line between his eyes and that V, upside down V. And a curve that goes right over. That's going to be his other cheek. And so now we can draw some of his teeth. So he has two sets of teeth that are poking out right under those little V-shaped wrinkles there. And there's 3 on each. There's a big one and small one right next to each of them. So there's another one, another set here. There's 1 big one and 2 small ones there. And then we can imagine we're seeing a little bit of those teeth on that side there. And he also has some front teeth right under that cup shape that we drew. There's 4 teeth in the front. There's 2 big ones and 2 small ones in the middle. So here's a big one and 2 small ones and another big one. And the last thing we're going to do for the top of the nose is a color separation line. And what that is if you remember the color of Louis, he has a darker green and a lighter green. And it's basically the line that separates those 2 colors. And it's going to start right behind that nostril there. And just follow the top curve of that nose line. And let it kind of tuck in behind that V shape right there. And then we can draw his lower lip. And so his lower lip is going to start right in the middle of that cheek. So let's start it right there and connect it to that nice big U shape that we drew earlier. And right around that U shape, I'm going to draw another U shape, and that's going to be his lip. So that's going to show the thickness of his lower lip there. And so now we have the inside of the mouth there, and we're going to draw some more teeth. And it's similar to the front teeth there. So there's 2 big ones and 2 little ones. 1 big one, 2 little ones in the middle, and another big one. And then right inside, we're going to draw his tongue. And so that's the middle ridge of his tongue. And so that's all the inside of his mouth. So we can use the pencil to shade that a little darker to make it feel like there's some depth in there. And so now we have his mouth. And so let's finish his eye region. So for his eyebrows, they're gonna be kind of like check marks, but upside down. So you have check marks like that, but instead it's gonna be upside down like that. And it's gonna start a little thick and get thinner towards the end. So the brows are going to look like that, and there's going to be an outline of flesh around the brow, which is his brow ridge. So we're going to draw 2 of those. So one over here. So there's that upside down check mark that goes from thick to thin, and then draw a brow ridge around it, and another eyebrow right there with the brow ridge there, And we can tuck that right behind that cheek there. And the last thing in this part is going to be the back of his cranium. So that's the back of his head, his skull. So imagine a round shape behind those brow ridges. And we're just going to see a little bit of the back of that head right there. So we're almost done with his head. So we're going to draw the big outside. And so before we do that, we're actually going to draw his chin. And his chin is right underneath that lower lip. And it's going to be a curve right here. And part of it is going to be hidden behind his lips, so we're not going to see it. So just start right next to that lip line there. There's a curve that starts, and we're going to hide it behind that lower lip for a bit, and then it's going to show up again right here. So that's his chin. And for the rest of the head, just start from behind that cranium. And then just go all around and follow that big oval we drew in the beginning. And then it's going to connect to that cheek over there. Gonna not see part of it behind that nose. And finish that nice big head shape. That's his big bull neck there. And we also have some spikes showing. And so Louis has 3 spikes on his head, and there's 2 rows of it. We're only going to see 1 row. And they're kind of like triangle shapes, but a little bit more rounded. And there's going to be a small one, big one, and small one. So here's the first one. It's like a triangle, but a little rounder on the top. There's a small one, a big one, and another small one. And the last thing we're going to do on his head is the other color separation line, and it's kind of like that one that separates the light green from the dark green. And it starts right under that cheek there, and it's a nice S curve that goes around the bottom of his head and bull neck there. And you might see a little bit of it on this side too. So there you have Louis's head. Now we're going to get to his body. So we do have this rough outline of his body, and we're going to draw his arm. His shoulder is going to be right under where that color separation line meets his bull neck. And we're going to draw his nice big thick arm, kind of like a long jelly bean shape almost. So we're going to just roughly draw it with the red pencil here. And right at the end, that's going to be where his wrist is. We're going to draw his hand, and the way we're going to draw that hand is we're going to see the back of the hand, and it's going to be kind of like this hand shape that I'm showing you right there. And so you see that little thumb. So we're going to draw the thumb and then draw that index finger. And then the other fingers and that knuckle line and that curve around that hand, we're going to kind of make it a little simpler like that. So his hand's going to be 3 curves like that. 1, 2, and 3. So right at the end of that arm, we'll have that thumb line, index finger, and the back of his hand with his knuckle line there. And that hand looks like that because he's holding his trumpet. So I'm going to really roughly, quickly draw in his trumpet right there. So his trumpet is quite a bit of a complicated shape, and it's gonna, a lot of the details will be hidden by his hand there. And just to show you what it looks like, that's what the trumpet actually looks like in its entirety. And so that's Louis's trumpet. It has the horn part there, and it's actually a big tube that's like a loop that goes around like this, goes behind and connects all the way to that mouthpiece right there. That looks like a little cup or a plunger. And there's these 3 tubes in the middle that connect to the buttons, and that's the buttons that he'll press to control what kind of notes he's playing. So that's all the details of the trumpet, but we're not gonna see all of it because it's hidden by the hand. And I'm gonna just maybe roughly place those tubes, and then the buttons will be somewhere above. And I'm gonna really roughly draw his other hand there. That's gonna be his fingers, little pinky finger lifted up. Then we might see a bit of his shoulder and arm there too. So let's start tying that down with the pencil. And so let's start with the shoulder. Right above his shoulder, there's a little wrinkle there. So starting from the shoulder, you can draw to the middle part there, and then go to the wrist, and then draw a line there, and you can overlap that line just a bit to feel like the fold of his arm is showing. And for his shoulder, I won't go all the way around, I'll leave a little gap, and then draw the big curve for his upper arm there. And then I'm gonna go back to where his wrist is, and then start drawing that curve towards the upper arm. And right where the 2 lines are supposed to meet, I'm gonna leave a little gap and then draw a little rounded V shape. And that's actually his little elbow. And there's his hand, the thumb, index finger, knuckles, and the back of his hand there. And then there's his trumpet, there's the horn part, and you get the nice loop going around there. Or you can imagine that loop going all the way around behind that hand there and going back around here. So we're going to see the other side of the loop. It's going to finish right to the mouthpiece there. That little cup shape. Then there's the 3 tubes that connect to the buttons. You're going to see a bit of that loop behind. The 3 buttons that are like 3 little discs there. You see the top of those tubes right there, and the buttons connect with this little stick there. And so for his other hand, we're going to start with his fingers. Little round shape for the fingers. I'm going to draw his little fingernails inside. They're like little guitar pick shapes. And then his little pinky there with another fingernail there. Connect to the back of his hand. Gonna see a little bit more of his fingers there. It's gonna be his thumb. And then gonna be his other shoulder, and that's gonna be the other part of his arm that connects to that hand there. So we're almost done. We're gonna draw in the rest of his body. There's his chest line, and imagine that connecting behind that arm and hand, and that's gonna connect to his belly. And then for his back, he does have a little break in the shape there, so instead of just a straight line, just change directions in your line once there and make it a curve that gets nice and wide for his big belly. And he's gonna have some spikes on his back too. So because we went small, big, small, we're gonna go big, small, big. So it's a big one, small one, and another big one. Might not see all of that there. We're almost done. There's one last little thing. There's another color separation line. Imagine that line connecting all the way down to his body behind that arm down there. So we're just gonna see a little bit of that there. And so there you have Louis with his trumpet. So I know that was a little fast and there's a lot of complicated parts to him, but I hope that was still fun to learn. And thank you very much for watching, and hope to see you again next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.